Hi there, and welcome to another relaxing long play. Today, we set out with a new people in a new land. The terrain is harsh and the competition fierce, but nevertheless, we start putting down solid roots into the rocky ground. So, without further ado, grab a drink, make yourself comfortable, and relax alongside me in Manor Lords. And here we are, a new people in a new land. We stand here in the capital with our starting settlement, and if we zoom out we can see we're on the beautiful new Jagged Cliffs map. We're playing Fractured Realm, so there are 3 other nations settled in this land. And we've got to try and get a strong foothold here so that we can take them on and claim this whole area of Jagged Cliffs for our own. Let's get going right away in the capital. We can see we've got a rich deposit of berries, we've got some wild animals, a rich deposit of salt, we've got some clay, and we've got some stone. Oh, look at that gorgeous cliff. If that doesn't scream manor, I don't know what does. Now, having said that, there's more than one place here that screams manor. But I think atop the mountain there will be the perfect place, but we're not there yet. First thing we need to do is get some agricultural bits and bobs going. So we've got the King's Road ending here. Let's curve that round the hill here, across from the berries, and maybe let's continue it across here. We'll go down the hill and follow this mountain here. For the most part, I want to try and respect the terrain and not have anything that's too steep to navigate, but at the same time there's a certain degree of efficiency in just getting where you need to go. So let's bring this road up here into camp, and this can be our starting point. I'm not going to bother building roads to all of that just yet, and I think in terms of forestry I'd like to focus up here and keep away from the berries. So let's bring a road around the salt pit and down the hill into our budding settlement. Let's move this right away so it's not on top of this road. And I quite like how that scoops up through the valley there. First things first, we also want to think about where exactly we're going to have our first population centre. Now, in terms of fertility, we have got some in this region, but it's not drastic, so we want to make sure we're not building over a future farm location. So we've got some strong emmer fertility up here, which is obviously even stronger for flax. So that's telling us that perhaps where the manor is going to be, but across from here, from those rocks and up to the back here, is going to be a prime area for farming. There's a few other spots as well. Where can we grow barley? There's a spot there, although some of this is high exposed terrain. Potentially some down here. Down here by the bottom looks like a good spot. In fact, I think that's probably the best spot. So our barley at the bottom, we'll remember that. So down by the corners of our territory. And as for flax, just south of the wild animals looks a good spot. And also where we've got some facility up here as well. Okay, that's fine. So that tells us we can go right ahead and place our population centre between the salt mine and the berries. So I think that's what we're going to focus on doing. Let's start then by another road following down the side here. And that can set the boundaries for our initial settlement. And then let's connect these 2 roads. We'll have a curve like so, and another one here. And actually we might match the curve like that. And then let's get our first couple of buildings in place. So that's going to be a granary and a storehouse, and we'll leave space between those so that we can get a road. And then straight away, let's get a logging camp set up. And we'll just check the fertility again. So we don't want to be putting it anywhere north of these two roads. But it looks like along here might be fine, so let's take this road and curve it back down here. And hopefully that more or less outlines where we have our fertility. So let's get a little industrial complex in here. We'll start with a logging camp, which will pop just there. And we're also going to want a woodcutter's lodge, which we'll get down there. And it's about time we unpause the game and let our budding settlers get to work. We also want to set up our initial housing, but before we do that, let's set priority for the granary and the storehouse to be the highest, and followed by the logging camp and the woodcutter's lodge, so that we can get our supplies tucked safely away inside sooner rather than later. Let's add a road cutting across here and get a forager's hut, and we'll pop that just opposite the berries here. And then we're going to surround the berries with a ring road so that we know not to build inside of that area and harm our lovely berry patch. Yeah, you can see they're all safely tucked inside of there. And we'll set that to a high priority as well. And then with our remaining resources, let's get some well set up. That'd be useful. Looks like we can get one tucked up in here, so we'll do so. And then housing. Let's come along this road and let's fill. Too steep. I fear that's a problem we're going to come across on a regular basis on this map. We may have to build facing this direction, maybe. It is all too steep. Okay, that works. So it looks like our steepest point is down here into the corner. So can we avoid that section? It's all still too steep. Okay, we might have to respect the lay of the land a little bit. So what if we come across here and then pop some dwellings in this space? We can get this road to follow around here. It's still too steep there. That's okay, apparently. So too steep again. Okay, let's delete this road. And let's just see where we can get the game to be compliant. Not there. How about on the top looking down? Nope. So it is on this steep fold, very steep fold coming down. Let's get rid of this road and this road. And let's reassess. So we have got good fertility here. So whatever we do, this needs to be the top of where we can build our dwellings anyway. And if we were to build some houses across here, too steep. What if we were to start down here? If you're enjoying the video and have the time, it would warm my tea if you could pop me a like, drop a comment with feedback or subscribe. But regardless, thank you for joining me and know you're appreciated. And that works, so we might have to come across the bottom here. As we get the storehouse and granary up, we'll get a few workers in there so they can start moving all of our goods inside. And in that case, can we get some dwellings across here? Yeah. So what we're going to do then, where it's just a little bit flatter, we're going to build a sweeping road following the lay of the land around here. Make sure that's nice and smooth. And we're going to use that as a template for our initial dwellings. And fantastic, we can actually get all the way across there without it being too steep. So the houses themselves look fine because they're on a relatively flat piece. And I guess it doesn't matter that the burgish plots themselves are up on steeper terrain. And this is perfect actually. Can we even go one less dwelling? And that gives us 3 nice, large, workable burgish plot areas at the back in which we can start planting our initial vegetables. So with that planned, we need to crack on. Let's get an additional family working at the granary. And we really need that logging camp constructed now. As we can see work going on down at the berry hut also. And let's check in with some of our neighbouring villages. So they're already getting their burgish plots set up. Same up here, and they have quite the vantage up here, don't they? See all the way across to our settlement over here. Imagine marching your armies up and down terrain here is going to be quite the limiting factor. And we've got the third settlement over here, looking down into the valley. So it's quite a wide open but narrow terrain here. Long and narrow rather. At least we're kind of tucked away in the corner away from the other 3. In terms of what I'd like to claim next, I really would like to get Rangbakchu. And that's because it's got a rich iron deposit and a rich stone deposit. And that's going to enable us to build some very strong fortifications and arm ourselves as well. So that's definitely where I want to be pushing our claim to as soon as we possibly can. Let's speed things up a little further so we can get these first buildings set up. We perhaps have built our initial logging camp a little far away from our central camp. But at the end of the day, we need everything to be in the right place, and I'm sure we'll manage to catch up without too much hassle. But let's get a hitching post sat over here by our logging camp, and let's get 3 workers into the logging camp straight away. And once our supplies are safely put away, which it looks like they are, we'll free up the granary and the storehouse workers to work on construction. And just in the nick of time, we've got all of those goods popped away because it started raining. We're okay for food and fuel supply for the minute because we're still very early on. And we're up to 10 timber. So let's take a look again at these initial dwellings. So let's not come across there quite so far. So we're aiming to fill this space here. Oh, and we're getting the too steep to build again. Thought we'd overcome that. Let's try and replicate what we did previously. Nope, still too steep there. Did we start along here? Too steep to build. Very disappointing indeed. I guess we shouldn't have clicked away while we had the opportunity. So how far down do we have to come for that to not be an issue anymore? We'll just slow time down while we figure this out. We don't want the AI getting too far ahead of us. Let's try coming along here. Too steep, too steep, too steep. Ah, okay. Have we got it? Perfect. And that's nearly exactly what we're after. We just need to make this road at the bottom slightly longer. And get this to fill in. There we go. So we want 3 properties with extensions. So we'll go ahead and get those under construction. And let's get a family working at the forager's hut. Let's reduce the number at the logging camp and order our second ox. Families may start leaving the settlement. Why are we so sad? Homelessness. It's okay, we'll get you your homes. If people are so unhappy, let's make sure that we get everyone we can working on building the homes. And once they're put together, we'll want to start thinking about getting more homes almost straight away. That's going to give us 6 once we put the extensions on. Let's pop another water supply down here. And can we fit some more properties? Let's get a road going across here so we can maintain good access. And can we get some burgage plots in here? We can, yep. We don't need these to necessarily be quite so large. So that's 3 with extensions. Probably want to build some without additional living space. So that would look a little bit better for that goal. We'll place this as close as we can, so we can have the smallest possible plot size to get us what we're after, which is some workable space at the back and 4 dwellings. So that looks good. Too steep to build though. It seems to be happy with that, so we'll get that building right away. And there's the first of our homes, built eloquently on the slope. And we're going to hold off building the extension for the moment, just while we get to work on these other dwellings. And we'll set some priorities so everyone knows what they're doing. actually we'll do that to all of the dwellings. Set them to a high priority, so that when we put some other buildings down that we want constructed, we don't take over that priority. Now this little corner in here looks like the perfect place to get some shops, so we'll build that in there. And we're going to want to get a tannery as soon as possible as well. And we want to get those wild animals, so we've got some animal hides that we can tan. So let's get a hunting camp, and we'll put that on the outside of our little ring road. In fact, what we might even do is put a little ring road around our area that's teeming with wild animals, because we don't want them to migrate away. And we'll make sure that's nice and smooth, and we'll connect it up to our road network like so. Yeah, quite like that. I'm just going to move this one a little further out. Like that there. And then we're going to pop the hunting camp just in here. Like so. And approval is starting to pick up as we're getting families moving into their burgage plots. And we're going to want to get some planks made up so we can start to build some extensions. So let's visit our area over here, pop down a sawmill. I think we're going to be fairly tight for space here. So I'm trying to place everything together nice and close together so we can make good efficient use of what we have. Because as we've seen with placing the houses, the steep slopes do make it quite difficult to get an efficient placement, and you can see why looking at this house. On this side the roof's practically touching the ground, and on this side we've got stairs up to the front door. But don't suspect it'll be a problem long term. Our people are resilient and resourceful. Let's get a family working in the forager hut, and we'll also get a family working at the logging camp. So that we can start to bring in some resources while we finish building our additional initial dwellings. And we can see some of the other settlements from ours here. We might have to go a little higher up to see the one, yep, just over the cliffs there, one just down there, and one just over there. And they look to be growing at quite a rate, so we probably ought to get a bit of a wiggle on. We're already into June. Let's speed time up a little bit because we don't have that many settlers at the moment, and things are still taking a little while to go. And resources stole by the nearby bandits. We've barely got going and we're already being assailed by brigands. Well, I'm sure we'll be able to take our revenge in time, once we've got a strong foothold and an armed militia. But for the time being, let's watch our dreamy village come together as the rafters go onto the house. And I really like this initial little road we've got going here with the dwellings alongside it. And we have a message. Indeed, we will need a militia. Let's form that militia. But 10 men isn't enough to go after the brigands yet, so we'll have to wait until our population grows a little bit more. With those dwellings being constructed, let's make sure that we've got additional living space set up at these ones here. And let's also get someone building more houses. Growth is going to be quite important, so I really don't want to miss out on the opportunity to increase the number of settlers we have. So let's see if we can squeeze some more homes in here without it being too steep to build. Okay, that will be really good if we can just get some space at the back. Too steep, too steep, too steep. That would be perfect if we could do that. Yeah. We might be able to. It's just on the wrong side of the road. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, let's do that. So we have our origins available to select. So let's take a look at what's available to us. So small holders, bit of small holdings, increased approval from food variety, better tree planting, that's better hunting grounds, better trade rice and minor goods, increased capacity from forage good deposits. Of the Vogtland might be quite good for us because we do have that large wild berries deposit. And increased export price on minor trades would help us with trade, and the hunting ground will help with getting some small game from the wild animal patch that we have. Woodlight journeyman would be nice, but I don't think... having said that, we are going to be facing several other competitive nations, so improved archers might be a good thing, because we can get archers set up pretty quickly. We also then would be using less fuel, and we'd have increased militia combat effectiveness, and this is going to be where the majority of our men come from initially, because it is our first settlement. Increased mining labour speed. That's a shame, because we are going to be using a deep mine for the salt, but we're definitely not going to want to have that in our deep mining region if we are going to claim that sector with the iron and stone. Increased regional wealth from burgage plots, lower cost, salt and iron ore, import value reduction. We're not going to be importing those necessarily straight away. Blacksmith effectiveness. We're not going to be making loads of weapons here. Not too worried about that one. Stonemasons, nope. Improved armourers, nope. And wind handlers. Farming elevation would be useful. Cheaper animal imports and increased mining labour speed. So that's pretty good, because we are going to be farming at elevation. And we are going to be mining for salt. So I think it's between Wyden Hinterlanders and Woodwright Journeyman. I think I'm going to go for Woodwright Journeyman as our origins, because I want to get an effective military setup as soon as possible. And in this terrain, who knows, archers might be very, very effective. And we are definitely going to have significant opposition. So, with our decision made, we can see we've got a bit of immigration. We've got 1 monthly migration, so we want to make sure we've always got enough properties to have space for people to move into, so we don't miss out on any population that might otherwise come to us. And we've still got a fair bit of construction that needs to go on, so we'll just let the game run through as our villagers start to get set up. And we've made some additional space here for properties, so those are being worked on. And just as soon as we have those constructed and we have the saw pit constructed, we'll start to get some planks made. And pretty early on, once we have a level 2 burgish block, I'm going to want to get some bows being made so that we've got another way to defend ourselves once we have more men available to us for fighting. We've got some initial stone, so I'm not going to worry about that for the second, but we are going to want to get down a stone gathering camp, because sooner or later we're going to want to be building the church. So we'll pop that down there, but we'll reduce the priority for construction there because it's not urgent. Now once we've got these dwellings constructed here, we will get a couple of workers at the granary and the storehouse, because having some distribution of food and goods is going to keep people happy, and that's going to help increase migration. And it's all about growing migration and growing the size of our population at the moment. That's really what we're aiming for. Let's have a quick look in at our competition, and oh my goodness, there's a church, there's a trading depot. It feels like we are rather being outstripped at the moment. They've just opened a mining pit. They're rather showing us up. Do they know something we don't? All three of those settlements look quite large compared to our little strip of housing. Well, what we lack in speed, we make up for in thoroughness. He lied. I'm not called typical for nothing. It's not exceptionality, it's just typical. As once again, our lunch money is getting stolen. We're up to 14 men, so once we have 15, I'll be happy to go out and march against the brigands. I would like a few more than 15. The closer we can get to 20, the better, really. So we've got a few properties that haven't been moved into there, so we'll up the priority of the saw pit so we can get that constructed as soon as possible, because that'll allow us to get the upgrades we need for some vegetable plots, and also to work towards building the church and other useful buildings like the tannery. Let's get a worker at the woodcutter's lodge and a worker at the hunting camp, and that still leaves us with 3 unassigned families to continue with construction for the moment. And pretty soon we'll assign a few of those to work in the granary and the storehouse, because once the saw pit is up, there isn't any urgent construction left. And there's another bandit camp, so that's quite good actually. Hopefully we'll be able to go from one onto the other and pick up some influence as well as some coin for ourselves. Some mercenary companies available, and I'm just wondering if we have enough coin to hire one. We do not, because it's regional wealth. Duh. Silly thing to mistake to make there, but you know. Again, typical, not exceptional. I don't claim to be exceptional. Our people are exceptional, just not the leader. He's typical. Well, things are going in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. We're up to 16 men. Maybe once we've got 17, I'll pluck up the courage to go out. And then maybe when it's 17, I'll say it needs to be 18. Let's get a worker in the granary and a worker in the storehouse so they can open up some stalls. And hopefully, yep, we've got the saw pit open. Let's get a family in here. And let's set a timber reserve of 20 for the time being. And we don't need more than 100 planks. So we'll set those up as our initial limits. And there we have our storehouse and our granary opening up. Hopefully that's going to make people much happy. And let's just speed time along a little bit as we let our settlement tick over. That well's been constructed, so we should be taking care of a couple of their needs here. We do have berries, and we should have... Yep, we've got small game coming in as well. And there we are, we've got another family moving in. And we're starting to hopefully gather some resources in the granary. So let's rally the men. There we go. Goods are starting to be added. So we don't want you to run. We don't want you to become tired. We need you at your full strength. And we'll array our brave soldiers here. And we'll start marching towards the brigands. I think we'll go the long way round to avoid fighting downhill. Ideally we'll come upon them from above up here. So we'll march to here and hopefully fight them on these slopes, which gives us the advantage. And once we've taken their camp, I don't know if we can come down this slope. If we can, we'll see if we can make their bandits cross the fjord here in the valley, across the river, so again we can fight them on the hill. And all seems to be going well in the capital. Not quite grandiose enough yet really to earn the name, but it'll get there. And we're just waiting for our first couple of planks to be produced. We've got a spare workman, so we'll get him working on the stone gathering camp. And we'll also get an additional worker at the logging camp. Actually no, we won't. We'll get him back, that family. And we'll start getting some vegetable gardens constructed. Like so. And we'll start advancing our men. We'll go in one long line and form a shield wall. And we'll choose our ground. Here looks like a good spot. Our brave soldiers advance into position. Take up their line in the shield wall as the brigands approach. Look at our fine soldiers. We've barely been settled here 6 or 7 months, and already there are men willing to fight for their region. If I were those brigands, I wouldn't fancy my chances. A well-formed line of spear militia with shields and favourable terrain. Here they come. And we're going to set so we have a fairly aggressive stance to push our advantage. Ideally I'd like to not lose a single man. Come on men. Slay those brigand outlaws. All seems well so far. Looks like we're pressing our advantage. At this rate, they'll break before too long. Yeah, perfect. We didn't lose any men during that either. So let's make our way down to the bandit camp and we'll take that. And we'll come out of the shield wall formation while we do so. And we'll run them on down to that bandit camp. And that's gained us a nice first little taste of influence. And that influence is going to be key. It's going to be key in establishing ourselves as a contender for power. So it looks like construction for the burgage plots here is going well. The extensions, I'm hoping this parched terrain at the top here isn't going to be unused. That would be very sad if it's not usable, arable farm space. Guess only time will tell though. And there we go. And this belongs to my treasury now. And we'll stop them running. And we'll take up a position on the cliffside in a shield wall formation and see if we can't taunt out the brigands on the other side. Speed our men along here. Yep, and there we are. Now, there's unfavourable terrain, and there's suicide. And these brigands look ready to commit suicide. I doubt you could walk up this slope. This looks like a climb. It's basically sheer. All we need to do is give them a light shove and they'll roll back down the hill. In fact, we probably could have taken up a position a bit closer to the edge. But I think we'll make swift work of them. Hopefully we don't even lose a single man, and that'll be quite an effective campaign. And there we are. Broken almost straight away. Now, that goes to show just how important... don't roll over going down, it's not a cheese rolling competition, men. That goes to show just how important terrain is going to be in our future conflicts and conquests here. If we don't use the terrain to our advantage and we end up fighting uphill, doesn't matter if we've got a stronger military, we're going to suffer heavy losses. So we've got enough money to plant some beets, so beets will be what we plant. Just so we've got something in the ground from the get-go. And there we go. And this belongs to the nearest town for these ones, I think. And then we'll march the men home, and that can be their reward. We'll just check there are no other brigand camps. It doesn't look like it. So that's given us 720 influence, so we're just a bandit camp or two away from claiming first additional region. And we've given ourselves a little boost here with our regional wealth, which hopefully we'll put to good use sooner rather than later. And can we build our first church? Yes, we can. And where can we build this? This is all farmland up here. So down here in the centre of what will probably become population centre is a good idea, so perhaps in here even. Yep, that looks a good spot to me. And we'll just box that in with a road here. And that looks a good place to build an additional hitching post. And potentially will be space for a market again in the future as well. Perfect, so actually with a little bit of money we've got, we might be able to get an animal pen or two. So let's go right ahead and get an animal pen here. And we'll spend on a couple of chicken coops. And we need to wait for a few more planks to come in because we've just obviously taken up quite a few in getting the church constructed. Let's speed things along. We're doing fine for food and fuel. That's going to carry us through the winter quite nicely. And because of the upgrade we took in terms of origins, we're getting lots of small game, which is a great start as well. Send the men back to their homes so they can help with planting beets or with any of the other things that we've asked them to do. And really, what we're doing now is waiting for the church to go up. And we are going to need to get some additional housing put together pretty quickly as well. So, opposite the church here might not be a bad place to have some extra houses. And we're going to want some properties to have space for orchards. So maybe this would be a good place to start that. Not happy with how that looks. What have we come across? Just a little bit there, and all the way down like that. Okay, that's reasonable. We'll take that, pop a couple of properties down there, and get a road in up here. And then maybe we'll get another few in here. Slow things down just a little bit. I wonder if we can squeeze one in here. Not an effective one. Let's try coming across here. It's not bad potentially for a couple of baggage plots. What about if we were to... that's quite nice. That would make for a very large orchard. Let me come further across this road and do something similar to that. So what's wrong with that space area? Are we on the wrong side of this road here? No. Maybe just come down a little bit. Okay, that makes for two nice orchards. So we'll pop that down there, and that actually gives us a nice place to pop a road in there as well. And straight away, we're going to want to construct an orchard there for the extension. Okay. So we're starting to get a nice little centre set up here. I imagine, yep, it's a fair bit smaller than our competition, which is increasingly worrying, but I imagine no one is coming near to us on influence, because nobody else has taken out any bandit camps. So we don't have enough money to plant up anything here yet, but we are going to go ahead and get the additional living space added as and when we can. And now we've got some planks available. We'll build another couple of the animal pens. And we can afford to order some. And a couple of dwellings. So I'm going to get some goats for this one here. And once we've completed the next animal pen, we'll get some pigs and we'll have a little of each. Let's free up the forager because there's nothing they can do in the winter anyway. Looks like hunting is still carrying on for the minute, so we'll leave them in there. And we just as well get an additional man working at the logging camp. And let's continue with doing a bit of construction as well. Let's get down a couple foresters' huts just in there so that we can make sure we have a good supply of trees at all times. We don't run out prematurely. We've got the church put together. So where are we at in terms of needs? Meat, fish and animal produce is what we're missing. So I'm guessing then that small game doesn't count towards meats, which is odd. Let's check in with the marketplace, so it may just be that we're running out of small game, and that could be it. Well, hopefully with a couple of chicken baggage plots and with some pigs and goats, we can start to address that and get some meat into stock for our lovely citizens. And And with meat on the mind, I'm also now thinking about leather. It looks like we're a couple of planks short on that front for a minute. And that's probably because we don't have enough timber. So we're going to get an additional worker at the logging camp. And I'm starting to think about expanding our logging operation for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because we're going to need somewhere to store all the logs that we're chopping down. And secondly, we may want to employ a couple of different logging teams over winter. Doesn't look like I can fit another one in there, so let's get rid of that. See if we can't more efficiently place these. Okay, so we can get one in there. Can we come across here at all? Let's get as far this way as we can. There. We don't quite have space to put another one in here, but we do have space to put other buildings. So let's connect some of these roads up. Want to make sure that we're well connected. I also, like I said earlier, don't want to waste any space if we can help it. And the one man at the woodcutter's lodge is fine for the moment. If there's anything, it's food that we're getting a little bit shy on. As we get vegetable plots up though, and we start to get some meat from the extensions that we talked about earlier in though, that should help take care of that problem. So let's speed along through the winter and see where we come out to in the summer. Let's get an additional worker down at the hunting camp. To make sure that we're bringing in all the food that we can, because we are down to 3 months of food supply. And we'll hold off on building any more extensions for the moment because we are waiting to get planks in to build our first tannery. Because hopefully if we look in here, we should have some hides starting to come in. And yeah, we've got 45 pelts, so that's a really good start. The forester's huts have been put together. We're also going to need to get a supply of tools, and we don't actually have an iron pit that we can mine at all here, so that really is important that we claim this region here. Because I don't believe this one here has any iron either. Do our adversaries have iron? Yep, there's iron down there, there's iron there. There's a rich iron over there, so potentially the green faction, Brethlin, is going to be our greatest adversary because they have access to what they're going to need to make a strong military. So let's also set up this for an orchard, or these both for orchards when we can. And before we run out of space, let's make sure that we've got additional dwelling space available by adding additional space to each of those dwellings there. And we're just waiting on the sawmill to produce us some additional timber, so let's get a couple of extra logging camps while we're at it. Extra logging workers rather, while we're at it. And I don't think we can afford an additional ox just yet, but that might be the next thing we purchase, because the third ox certainly would help with our production levels and how quickly we can get things set up. Alright, let's get that tannery down. And that's going to open up the door for us in terms of producing clothes. As for where I'm going to put this, let's see about... Yeah, let's put it down here. Right next to where we're hunting. In between our two protected areas. And maybe let's add another road coming out from here and following along here. And allocating some more space there for development that again isn't particularly fertile. We've got our first couple of properties ready to be leveled up to level 2. And as soon as that becomes available, we'll make sure to do it because there isn't a steady supply of meat just yet. We're up to 20 men in our militia and a new bandit camp has been spotted. So to preserve what little money we have in the treasury, I am going to deploy our own men once again. And we'll send them to take care of the filthy outlaws and hopefully get us that additional influence that we need to stake our claim to the next region we have our eyes on. We'll shield wall up, and we want to be fighting on fair terms, if not better. So let's position ourselves here to start with, and then we can move downhill towards that brigand camp. And we've got the first signs of a larger brigand force. They're about a year away, so we've plenty of time to prepare for how we're going to deal with them. One of these properties here I'm thinking is going to be our boa, where we're going to produce our war bows that we're going to use to create our second division in our military. And that again is going to help us defend from those that we know are coming. Let's get a forager hut set up there so we can start to take advantage of the berries. We're gathering stones quite nicely, so it would be good once we've got a few more planks to get the granary and the storehouse upgraded to the next level. For the time being though, we've got plenty of spare workers, so let's get some families working in the foresters' huts so that we can start to make sure that we've got a longer term plan for our forestries as our men make their way into their initial position. And let's check they haven't provoked the brigands just yet because we do want time to rest up. Nope, and perfect, they're actually coming to us here. So that's a nice position. We've got a rock formation to defend from one side. We're going to set to an aggressive stance because we've got more men than we did the last time. We've got our shield wall to increase our defence. And with any luck, the brigands will run straight into our line of defence. We've superior men, we've superior weapons, we've superior terrain. The brigands do not stand a chance, and hopefully this will be our third conflict where we don't lose a single man. The shield wall holding well, the brigands feeling less confident by the second, and our men growing in confidence. And it looks like we're starting to push the line down towards them, and they're losing numbers now at a rapid pace, and they're all but broken. There we go. Another lossless victory. Let's take that camp as quickly as possible. And head back over to the capital. Doesn't look like we've got anything else ready for upgrading just yet. Oh, there we go. As I say that, property pops up for upgrades, so we'll get that one going. And looks like we're struggling a little bit with supply at the moment, but I think that's just because we don't have loads and loads of food just yet. The berry deposit is still growing. Let's get a worker at the tannery. so he can start producing us some leather, which can be sold in the market as well. And we'll want to start thinking about getting a cobbler as well at some stage. But that's a level 2 upgrade at any rate. Okay. Not quite there with the planks. I'm going to hold off on building any of these extensions here, which we can't fill up for the moment anyway, so that we can use our planks for something more useful at this point. And there we have it. Let's send that to our treasury. And we have the influence to claim our first region. So we're going to claim this one down here. And that's going to give us access to the resources we need. As you can see, it wraps its way around the bottom of the capital anyway. So actually it's a nice defensive belt, and it's got support nearby as well from our initial settlement. So militarily wise, we're not overly exposing any one region. And with that in mind, let's see where the main road comes down. You see we've got a road that comes down here around there, protected area. So let's connect this in to the King's Road. And that can be one of the main arteries down into the lower settlement. And we're probably going to be settling somewhere down here in the middle-ish. So we've got access to these deposits here, but we are going to need food as well. Maybe we'll settle dead center. That also has the virtue of being pretty much the closest place to our main settlement as well. So that sounds like a good plan. We're still struggling a little bit in terms of getting enough planks produced. Could well be that it's a log issue stemming from a oxen availability issue though. First thing we'll do is we'll upgrade the granary. That'll be our first port of call. And we'll send our men back to their jobs at home now we're here. Exposed stocks at the hitching post. What on earth are there else doing lying around at the hitching post? It's not very good, is it? Let's move that in here as well. Oh dear, oh dear. With any spare labour we have, let's pop down our first mine. And we want to leave enough room that we can get quite a few set up on this node. So we'll get no closer than we need to be. And connect that to the road there. And we've got lots of timber for the moment, so I'm going to free up some of our logging camp labour so that they're available to help with construction. And we're taking care of the berries as soon as they grow here, so I don't feel the need to get anyone extra working at the forager's hut. It might be though we want to get some properties over here with the aim of, as we claim our first additional region. I think we're going to be a little way off settling down there initially. We don't have the finances just yet, but at least we have it claimed. We know that it's going to be ours. Tiny little region over here. It does have a strong clay deposit. We've got strong fish up there. I mean, if we claim all these, that would certainly put us in good stead against our rivals. We would certainly have much more land than they. So someone really wants to put those goods inside, but we'll leave them to their jobs and we will tend to ours. And we've increased our settlement level. Hurrah! Let's pop down here and see if we can't establish some housing. And I'd quite like to get some apiaries here so they can help with pollination for the berry bushes. maybe let's do this the other way around. Turn off some to roads briefly. I said that. It's nice when it fills out properly. Maybe we just come up that way a bit. That's quite nice. Just a little bit further down there. Yeah, that's good. Let's bring a road across here, like so. And then I'd quite like to mimic this on this side if we can. Can we fit 3 in there with workable land? Not quite. What if we start on this side here? We do get 2 in there. Let's carry this road round here and see what it would be like if we do something a little bit different. Nope, nope, nope. Let's get rid of this little road I built here. And see if we can make this work with filling out this space. That's quite nice. That could probably be a spot where we put some vegetables, for example. Off that road there. So that gives our construction workers something to crack on with. And with buildings either side, we've got a nice little high street through here. So I'm liking how it's coming together. A few more properties ready for upgrading. I wonder actually if what was holding us back was our planks, not our willingness to upgrade. It might even be worth getting a second saw pit set up. I think we'll build one just in the off chance that is what's holding us up, so that'll become useful in the future. And again, we'll see how effectively we can squeeze this in. Oh, perfect, all the way down here. And we'll just connect that up to the road there. And let's get someone working at the mining pit. And hopefully once we've got that second saw pit set up, we can start to break through some of the bottleneck that we're experiencing. Productivity is particularly low, they are doing a bit of waiting, and it is also quite far from our people's homes. This road is certainly the busiest one, linking our accommodation district to our industrial district. Hopefully seeing the growth of their neighbours is a spur enough to their bones to chivvy them along to get working. You see these settlements are growing reasonably large themselves. And let's go and look over here. Yep, similar sort of size again. Now hopefully they'll all quiver when we establish our manor atop the very peak of our land. Just waiting on enough regional wealth now that we can get a third oxen. And let's start to upgrade some of these hitching posts to stables. And let's set that saw pit to the highest priority so we can get that constructed so that we can get additional planks manufactured. Let's speed things along just a little bit as we see these properties being upgraded to level 2 at a swift pace. And we've got enough regional wealth now that we can order in a third ox. Hopefully that's going to help with getting logs over to our saw pits. And just as soon as this saw pit is constructed, we'll get an additional family working there. We've almost gathered up all the stone, so we'll be able to free up this family here. dismantle the stone camp as well, just as soon as it's been emptied. And there we go. And let's assign him, or them, the saw bit. It really is taking a while to get everything done over here, isn't it? Can we set up a road right around the outside perimeter of what we can build on here, just as an alternative way of getting around. And we'll connect that in there. Maybe that'll be fractionally faster. We'll get a man working at that saw pit. Fuel is good. Food is okay. It looks like we've got more space for hunting down here. So let's get another hunting camp set up down here. Oh, that wasn't quite where I wanted to put it. Let's go just there. Dwellings are popping up at a rate of knots. That's going to be an orchard once we make our way around to it. Got a little bit of monthly regional income coming in. And we've still got the best part of 2/3 of a year until we have those nasty brigands turn up. Let's upgrade some of the homes that are currently unassigned extensions, because that's where we're going to want to get our boas set up, and that's probably going to be our next priority. And again, we're going to need to make sure we've got plenty of planks for that. So all the more reason to have a decent plank production line in place. We've also got salt coming in, so it might be time to think about getting our trading post established so that we can sell the goods we're not using and buy in those that we need. Oh, and look at that. It's like it was made for it. Let's turn off road snapping and tuck the trading post in here. Nice and central. And again, as and when the resources become available, we'll build those, and there we go. We'll get a boa's workshop in there. And hopefully once we have the trading post put together, we can start to sell some of our salt that we're mining up. And we can use that money to start upgrading some of our burgage plots. In fact, let's get any spare labour we can working at the mining pit. And let's also get an additional hitching post over here. Shame we can't squeeze one in there, but we can get one there. Ooh. And let's also upgrade any that we've got left in here to be stables. We'll upgrade that well because we can. And we'll continue upgrading our dwellings as we can as well. And our trading post lying together there. Still okay for wild animals. We'll go ahead and get one additional family working at that hunting camp. And the salt is starting to pour in. Slow things down a little bit. Double check we've not got any brigands that have moved in. No, we're still okay. And then down at the trading post, we'll assign a family to work here. And let's make our way over to salt. We want to export it, and we just save up 40 to open that trade route. it's quite expensive to import planks, and I'm not really producing enough to export them at the moment. We are going to need to be buying in tools at some point, although it might be that we can get a settlement established down here before too long and start sending some iron our way, so we don't need to import it quite so much. And we don't really want to be making mortar or selling rubble because we don't have loads of that available to us. We're not going to be producing much flax for the moment. I think all of the cheap trades are things we can't realistically be affording to trade away. Iron wool. So what I think we're going to have to wait to do... could export firewood. Okay. Let's open up a trade route on firewood. Export everything over 40. And... go market price average. And let's assign some spare workers to the woodcutter's lodge to increase our production of firewood so that we can sell that on the market for a bit of a profit. And once we've got that firewood streaming in, or streaming out rather, and we've got some money streaming in, we can use that to open up a trade route for salt, which is really what's going to be enabling us to trade a bit more efficiently. This salt we can export for reasonable prices, 4 times the value. And we need 80 now to open up that trade route. It might not necessarily be the first thing we do when we have that, because there are plenty of other things at the moment that are demanding our finances. Or that have demands on our finances, rather. So we've got our bowers shop here. And yep, we want them making regular bows. And you can see we've already got 3 set aside. So we'll be able to set up our very own archer militia. We've still got 3 places for people to move in. But we're definitely... that's not going to last that long, so we definitely want to make sure we've got some more set up. So let's continue expanding this central area and see if we can't get some properties set up along here. Fantastic, we'll get those there, and then get a road in there, and then let's see if we can get some more here. Too steep. Surprised that's too steep there. Maybe if we just come back a little way.
Firewood, firewood. Keep your hearth warm and your home cozy.
Get a few in here. That might be a better option. Got a couple there. I don't want to infringe on future mine locations though, so we won't spread out too far towards those. Keep hitting those upgrades as soon as we have the planks available to us. And we're stacking up salt, ready to sell it. And probably do want a reserve, let's say a reserve 40, before we trade it all away. Up to 7 archers now as well. And yeah, not making a dent in the animals. Let's set a reserve limit of 10. So that we don't go too far into our relate. available resources. And we have a bandit camp. Same place as last time. So let's deploy our fighting men, which now also includes a banner of archers. So let's move our spears and our archers into position, and then we'll set them up for the walk. We know where we're going. Again, we're going to be targeting a battle over this hill here. We're running out of space in the hunting camp. How are we doing for space in the granary? Still okay, but perhaps we could do with an additional family working here. So the next time a family becomes available, I think we might send them to work at the granary so they can help with the collection of goods. I might even look to take someone from over here. In fact, let's take one of the foresters, who has a new family settles actually, and we'll assign them to the granary. And the next thing we're going to need to upgrade is definitely the storehouse, because it is full, and pelts are to blame. So we've also got the tannery. How's he getting on? Are we producing a reasonable amount of leather? We've got a couple, so we're starting to make it. Only 10% productivity, 60% waiting. That's not ideal. Hopefully that resolves itself over time. Let's go and address our units here. Set up our spears as we have before. And set up our archers behind. We want them to shoot at will. Position them safely behind our men and able to shoot over the top. And hopefully they can be a help in the conflict. So they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 loads of shots off before they engaged. We'll set them to advance, and it looks like we're still taking a few pot shots as and when it's safe as well. Perfect. Very quickly done. And it's all shoot at will. And we'll deploy them to collect the booty. And back at home, what we do is freeing up a few people for construction, but I'm more concerned at the moment with getting trade up and running. You can see we're mostly forestland here, so that we can get some exports, because we have not got any thus far. We are now starting to build up some firewood ready for export though, which is a positive sign. And we're just building up that regional wealth. Unfortunately, we are getting stocks damage still at the hunting camp. I wonder if it's pelts as opposed to anything at the granary. Actually, the storehouse staff aren't too busy, it's just quite full here. And what do we have sat at the hunting camps? It is food. There's loads of food down here. Could really do with that making its way over to the granary. So they are spending quite a bit of their time transporting, although they do seem to be doing other things as well. Have we got that camp yet? Someone claim it please. Thank you very much. Belongs to me. And then we'll redeploy our forces back home. And it's a rather rainy and wet September, isn't it? But it hopefully makes for more fertile ground. Looks like we're still working on planting here. We don't have any fuels here. They're not that far from the market. So maybe we do need to get an additional worker. And actually we've got no fuel supply in the storehouse, probably because it is so crowded. What I think I'm going to have to do, if we go to the bower's shop, we need a reserve of at least 40 planks before you start making bows, because I think that's why we don't have any planks available for construction. We'll free up our men there, and we've still got 20 spearmen, not lost a man yet. And we have 40 archers as well. And that number will tick up over time once we get to a certain level of plank production. I wonder if we made our first sale in the middle of that. Yeah, we did. Plus 25. What I might do is spend that money partially on ordering an ox. Because oxen make the town go round. Let's check in on our adversaries. Yeah, so they've continued to grow and they've started building their manor. I imagine the other regions are doing much the same. They seem to advance at much of a pace with each other. And almost exactly the same pace, in fact. And what do we need to start thinking about our manor? Planks. We do have a little bit of a problem with planks. So it might be a minute before we do that. And I imagine that's what's holding us up as well from upgrading properties, as well as the fact that there's no room at the storehouse for firewood, practically. So we're just going to wait for enough resources to come in that we can upgrade that. We've got families moving in. We've still got 4 plots where people can move into, so it's not dire just yet. And we've got 4 under construction as well. Upgrade that there, so we've got an additional living space. Our miners toiling away, gathering in as much salt as we possibly can. And a bit of money, we can plant a herb garden to occupy them while there are no berries. Still 12 out of 15 on the wild animals. That is our main food supply at the moment. We are going to want to start thinking about possibly getting a farm constructed next year, so that we can produce some food via other means. So we're not producing warbows, but we're still not getting there on the planks. Still very low productivity. And what's holding us up here? How are we doing for the timber? Timber we're absolutely fine for. Just no one's at work. Everyone's working on their own plots. Let's unassign that family. And let's have a look down here. What do you do? Unassigned. Consider yourselves assigned. Or not, because I pressed the wrong thing. Consider yourselves assigned to the saw pit. Because you don't have a plot on which to plant beetroots. And hopefully that means you'll actually go and do your job, which so far very few people at the saw pits have done. And it is rather holding us up. We've only 137 days until some undesirables arrive. And, you know, they may not appear in our region, they may attack one of our neighbours, but we don't want to take that chance. Construction is still underway. We will be upgrading the hitching posts to stables, but not just yet. We need that sweet plank available to use elsewhere. Let's just speed things along and wait for those planks to tick in for us. Hopefully before next year. You wouldn't have thought it was very hard, would you? Cut a log into some planks and send it back for construction. But it does seem that we are asking a lot of our people in the ability to produce planks. Not something I've ever had a problem with producing before in Manor Lords. But there we are. It's a first time for everything. Let's get an additional family working here at the storehouse, and there we are. Let's get that upgrade popped down straight away. Good, good, good. And it's a beautiful November, and we've supplies enough to make our way through the winter. Speed time along and push on towards plank heaven. And we're already up to 30 planks, so hopefully if we go and check on the efficiency of the saw bit here, hopefully we're doing much better in terms of efficiency. So you can see here, productivity is 34% for this one, 5%, far worse. Okay, hopefully that fixes over time. We've got just over 100 days until the bandits arrive. So before then, we'll want to make sure that we have got production of warbows back up. But for the time being, we do need to get the granary and the storehouse upgraded. We've plenty of dwelling space for people to move into. And we're up to 40 in terms of regional wealth, so we're halfway towards getting the trade deal open for salt. And as for salt itself, we're growing up a healthy margin, so we should have plenty to sell. We've got 96 in storage. We've also got lots and lots of pelts, so potentially we could look to make some sales on pelts also. A real problem with productivity down at the tannery, and I wonder if it's due to transport. They're just all waiting at the moment. I don't know what they're waiting for. So they've got, access, local access to barks. That shouldn't be a problem. Let's assign a second family and see how they get on. How are we doing for tools? We're down to 6 tools, so we are going to start importing iron pretty soon. So let's look at the import cost of iron. We can afford it. Ideally, I don't want to open that trade route until we've opened our salt trade route, which will make this one more expensive. But if we open this one, it's going to make salt that much more expensive, and we're not going to have the income to buy the iron anyway straight away, so there's no point in getting access to it immediately. But in anticipation of having iron, it might be an idea to build a bloomery. And actually, while I think about it, we ought to have a charcoal kiln as well, so we can start to produce charcoal from our firewood. And we just as well put that over here. Don't know if there's a space we can make it work in here, where it isn't too steep, but there is space. Doesn't look like it. Perhaps we can get some smaller buildings in here. Okay. Well, let's put it on this side then. Put the charcoal kiln there. And perhaps, I wonder if we've got space for some properties in here. Although we'll probably find, again, the steepness is an issue for these two. Having some local workers here might help to alleviate the problem we've got with people walking all the way over here. So let's pop a house in there. And let's get a house in here as well. Ideally filled out so that we have got some space at the back. That works. And then we'll also pop a additional granary and storehouse up here. And we'll get a small market to service the houses we have up here, as well as, no pun intended, well. And we'll squeeze a market into this, maybe not into that space, a bit tight. Let's put it on this side, let's have it here. Pop a market in there, and we'll get a road built behind here. And happy daisy. And we're well into winter. And people are pretty much lacking everything. They've got foraged vegetables. I mean, these houses haven't moved in yet, which is why they're lacking things. They were doing okay otherwise. A little lacking on fuel access, but now that we've got the large storehouse upgraded, we should start to bring in some of the firewood. And once we've constructed, here we are, charcoal kiln, we'll get a family working there. And we'll take a family out of the forester's hut. Get a couple of families working the charcoal kiln, so we can start to turn that firewood into charcoal. Let's set a firewood reserve of 40. That's what we're exporting. And at any opportunity, we'll make sure to upgrade burgage plots. I think we've got all those upgrades available because all of a sudden firewood became available. Okay, and we're very, very close now to having enough regional wealth that we can open up trade on salt. Let's unassign our berry worker. And productivity is still not great here, but we'll see how we do on the tannery over time. Down to 11 wild animals there. Alrighty, speed things along a little bit. Got plenty of accommodation for the moment, and of course we're building more up here as well. As well as the storehouse and granary, as we watch the small granary come together here. That's kind of our second little region here, and I would like to think about for next season as well, getting some rye in the ground. So let's pop down a farmhouse, pop that there. We'll get it a bit closer if we haven't got space for a road. In fact, we'll build the road first, and then we'll build the farmhouse afterwards. And we'll squeeze that in here. Connect it up to the road. And construction's going nicely on the new dwellings down here. And we've got that regional wealth we've been looking for, so let's go to the trade tab and let's open up exporting on salt. And we've got plenty that we can be exporting as well, so hopefully that's going to make a massive contribution to our finances, which is going to enable us to start buying in the iron ore that we need to make tools. And obviously we need to make sure as well that in time for that we've got a smithy and a bloomery set up. So we're conscious of, we don't want to go any further here. We didn't really want to put the charcoal kiln there in all honesty. We do have limited rye fertility. So let's put the bloomery etc. down here. So the bloomery here, and we'll put the smithy next to it. As long as we can find somewhere with even enough terrain. Might have to get a little closer to the houses here. You'd think that this industrial building requires level ground or something. Not enough goods. It seems unlikely. Yeah, it's true though. Okay. Right, we can demolish that now. And we'll just wait for some more goods to come in to enable us to set that building on the go. And as more money starts to come in, we can start to assign some of our burgish plots to various producers. As we get people moving in up here as well, when we have the first couple move in, we'll assign them to the storehouse and to the granary. And then what we'll do is we'll assign them to some of the jobs around here, so they're not walking quite so far. Let's order in an ox. And at any of the dwellings where we have got additional living space, like this one here, let's build that. And look at that. That money flowing in now from the sale of our salt. So we can open up some additional burgish plots, and let's get carrots in there. And then we just wait to have enough money to put some cabbages in there. And there we have the farm coming together. And we're still waiting on those planks, so while we do so, let's go and look at getting some fields in place. So primarily, for the moment, we're looking at rye, and we'll start with a couple small fields, just filling out this space here. And let's go for 0.7 Morgan in terms of size. That's 2, and then we'll put a third one here. And we'll get a couple more down then. We'll put one here and one immediately behind it as well. We might not go too far up because we can use that. In fact, what we'll do is we'll get rid of these. And we'll slightly rethink how we're going to lay it out. So let's bring that back up. That's fine for the first one. And then with the others, maybe even a little bit smaller on this one. Okay, rye fertility. And we're going to use up this space as we did before. But keep it a little squarer and a little smaller. And 6 is fine. And we'll do the same with the next two. Yep, 0.5, not an issue. Don't need to be exactly the same size. So that's our first 3. And then we'll fill in some of the space here with another slightly larger one, but again, that's not really a problem. That looks good. One there, and then a second here. And then we'll get a third just here. we'll just continue on with this pattern. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Let's make this one slightly squatter. Let's come down one couple further actually. And we're kind of on the edge of fertility there anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So then we'll get another 3. We'll use up this space here. Even fields can be too steep. That seems fine. And hopefully by doing this we're avoiding getting too much of the high level terrain in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that'll do for now. And then we'll look to potentially add a few more out towards the back here. But I'm quite happy with how that looks. So let's only enable the first 3 fields in any case. And we'll go for rye, followed by wheat. I'll do that on all 3 of these. Rye followed by wheat. And let's go right ahead and assign 4 workers to the farm so they can start work on our first farming project. A band of raiders. We've rather run out of time. Okay, and where have they come in? I'm so busy thinking about farms. They're over here. Okay, that's interesting. Because they've come in through the valley here. I'm guessing that's the nearest settlement. We'll have to see, and we've got some brigands there as well. We'll have to see where they go. Looks like they're making their way down here. Got some wealth, and taking them out, we would be able to take out these brigands afterwards as a source of money. But the influence is what's really worth it. So where would we be able to hire in mercenaries? So we've got Groom and All-Willed Wand. Groom's all over here. Willed Wand is here. And where did that single band appear? Null, which is here. Okay. What we're going to do, I assume that they have a garrison force, and possibly not. They haven't actually finished their manor yet. Okay, let's hire in both of these, and we'll use these to harry and delay. We'll run them down this way, and hopefully they can harry and delay long enough for these units to arrive. And we will deploy our own banners as well. "25 archers and 20 spears. And we've got a raft of properties ready to upgrade to level 2 as well. So we'll get those upgrading. No one moving into the top properties just yet. we've got some of our workers here starting to work on the farms. So though we may be relatively few in number and appearingly behind some of our competitors, we seem to be the only ones raising any sort of significant opposition force. We're going to get those troops stationed there. We're going to run these troops into here. And we're going to run our own troops directly into the valley. Maybe even to here. So we put them there. We can probably meet up with these troops here as well. We've only seen the 2 units so far, but that's not to say there isn't more than that. They do look like they're moving their way towards our harrying force here.
It's time for war.
So hopefully we've diverted them away from this settlement. You know, I don't want people to suffer. I'll save them if I can. Maybe one day they'll remember it and not oppose us too vehemently when we come to take those lands for ourselves. We'll let this force rest up. Might even start walking them back here. And we'll stop running our troops. We'll set up our spears here and our archers here. And we'll move these forces here. We'll keep retreating back here with this force. And then hopefully our various banners of troops should all arrive in the central location about the same time, with the brigands hot on the heels of these troops down here as they advance along the river. And we'll be able to pepper them from all sides with arrows and then break them with our shield wall. That's if we even need to commit our own forces to a direct frontal assault, and we can't just use the brigands as a meat shield. So we'll arrange these archers here and set them to fire at will also. We'll set our shield wall up here. We'll have the brigands stationed out on the flanks. And we'll keep both of our archers up here. If we need to, we can pull our archers back. And, oh dear, what do we have up here? It looks like one of their units went around the top. Shouldn't be an issue. Let's pull back a little bit. To make sure that we're not fighting on a downward slope. And as they get closer, they should be coming into range of our archers. There we go. Arrows are being knocked. And we're engaging that band there, and also this one here. We may even lose men before they reach our front lines. The trader making a hasty escape there through our shield wall. So we just as well close in here and set our archers to attack this force. And we'll move our shield wall to continue to protect our archers. Let's check there are no other bands of brigands that we can see. Doesn't look like it. Okay, let's move our troops off to the side. We should open up the flank to better fire from our archers. And there we go. Threat dealt with. So, what we're going to do now is we will march our own forces at a steady pace toward this. Maybe we won't actually. I was thinking of saving the cost of the mercenaries, but actually that's an uphill battle. I don't want to lose any troops, so we'll send our men home. That battle did actually take place on our soil. I don't know if we're going to have to bury anyone. Maybe it just happened just outside our border. And we're going to deploy the brigands at a steady pace towards this bandit camp. And we'll see how well we can do in an uphill battle this time. We do have archers to support us, and we do outnumber them 3 to 1. More than 3 to 1, so hopefully it won't be too much of an issue. You can all head home, men. Go back to your families. Lovely, we've got our first field well underway, being ploughed. Regional wealth is continuing to stream in, so what we need to do now is start thinking about opening up the import on iron. And we probably want to have about 15 at any given time. And we need to make sure we've built the smithy here alongside the bloomery. And people are pretty happy, which is always a good sign. Okay, so the enemy have come out to meet us. So we'll take position here. They're already set to fire at will. So we'll have them pepper the enemy forces, and we're going to split our brigands here. And hopefully we'll then be able to get our archers to engage through the centre. And then we'll sandwich attack from the sides and finish them off swiftly. Arrows flying in from the side. We'll make swift work of them. And then before we have to pay any of our contracts, we'll get rid of the forces we don't need, and we'll send our remaining band here to take the camp itself. And we might even get there before we have to pay those thugs. So that indeed would be an efficient use of coin. As you can see, we've gained loads of influence. So where do we want to take next? So up here we'd have a great source of fish. We've already got a source of berries, so it's really fish up here that we'd be benefiting from. There's some fertility, but not masses. The only really fertile land is actually all the way over here. So the other option is to come down here with a strong oil animal and strong clay. Now, we don't have a strong clay deposit elsewhere, so I'm tempted to claim this little region here as a matter of priority. So we're going to claim that, and if we can, we'll claim this land as well after the fact, because actually we've still got a reasonable amount of influence, having just fought a number of successful campaigns. And we've got a message. Ah yes, we'll send these to our treasury, because it was indeed our treasury that provided the funds in the first place to hire those who we used to thwart the enemy plans. And it's lovely to see some fields coming together, looking over our village. We can see our rival settlements in the distance, but having established ourselves as the military power here amongst our neighbouring settlements, we can start pressing on with growing our economy and growing our population. So The next thing we're really thinking about, we probably ought to continue to increase the number of oxen we have available for production. We're going to need a few more people to move in before we start seriously thinking about getting iron production underway. We only have one available family at the moment. We're working on construction, and actually we're going to have to, I think, take a family off the mining pit and get them working at the forager's hut, as we need to be gathering in the berries this year. And we set a limit of 10 at the hunting camp, so we might as well unassign one of our hunting camp families so that they can go and work elsewhere, so that we don't have them waiting around doing nothing. We've built up a small surplus of planks, which is good. So let's use that to turn some of our hitching posts into small stables. And then, as and when as well, we need to start thinking about expanding some of our burgish plots to make use of the space we have in the back. And with Clinol well under claimage, let's speed time up and just wait for some of those resources to come in and for some families to settle. And there we have it, our second region claimed, and we're getting to the point where we might have enough money soon to think about settling down here as well. It might be that once we've got a manor set up here and we've got a little bit of taxation, that provides that little bit of extra money that we need to be able to make it financially viable without making it too risky that we can't risk the mercenary, can't afford hiring the mercenaries that we might need. And we have the resources to build our manor, so I'm going to put that slap bang in the middle up here, and we'll pop down the garrison tower as well, and then we need to service it with a road. So we'll leave that off here where it will connect alongside our farm here, and then we may also send a second route heading down the hill here. Like so. Quite a steep path, but you know, easy to defend is the main thing. So that potentially will give us 2 gates, one here and one here, and then a wall surrounding. Or it could be we come out further and encompass this area here. We'll have to wait and see what takes our fancy. But we're going to have quite the strategic and politically advantageous governal view of all of our lovely, lovely residents from up there. We'll be able to gaze upon them, watching them work hard and work for their lord, I'm sure. That's all we have time for today, friends. I hope that you found this as relaxing to watch as I found it to make. I would love to hear any suggestions you have for these or other videos. Pop a comment below, I'll read it and respond, and if you enjoy the video then why not like and subscribe. As always, I appreciate you and your feedback. Until next time, cheerio.